Namaste. Welcome to Global Perspectives. Our special guest for today's episode of Global Perspectives is His Excellency Hanan Goder-Goldberger. He is the ambassador of Israel to Nepal. Welcome to the show, Your Excellency.
Namaste.
Nepal is the first country in the South Asian region to establish relations with Israel on June 1st, 1960. Since then, over the 60 years, it has had a thriving relation. What are the key factors behind this?
Nepal was really the first one from this part of the world to establish relations with the state of Israel. And by the way, the first one, and for more than 30 years, the only one to have relations with the state of Israel. We will never forget it. We will always remember and always appreciate this good friendship that started 62 years ago. I can give you different ingredients of these relations, and I think that actually on all aspects of bilateral relations we could see this cooperation. Whether it was on agriculture, it was on tourism, on education, scholarships, working relations, on security. Nepal was one of the first countries that Israel assisted to develop a very, very strong security cooperation. I can even mention the fact that Israel was the first one to land here in Nepal after the earthquake with so many aeroplanes, cargo planes, and with a team of 300 doctors and medical teams that came here and established a field hospital not far from here in Chowni, and a lot of treatments were made here. So again, during these 62 years, relations were amazing. And I think this is a very, very a good example of good relations that thrive for decades.
You talked about the support that Israel provided Nepal after the 2015 earthquake, which was a highly talked about and prominent support that Israel has provided Nepal. So how did this idea come about of bringing an entire high-tech plane with medical equipment and a team of 300 doctors and medical team and setting up a state-of-the-art hospital in the Nepal military hospital Chowni?
Israel is well prepared for emergency situations, which means because of our geopolitical situation, we are trained for dealing with emergencies and medical problems. And this is the reason why we are prepared. We have, even at the moment, big emergency compounds that are ready for assistance all over the world. And when our good friends were in need, Israel responded immediately. There was an immediate government meeting. It's a huge cost. Immediate government meeting and a vote to approve it, and Israel sent the cargo planes here immediately. We saw the reports, we saw how many people were rescued and how many people were treated, how many people were searching. I hope that such cases will not happen again, but you know, we have to be prepared, and I know that between friends, this is what you expect to do.
Your Excellency, this is your second tenure in Nepal, and you've watched Nepal from a gap of over a decade. What are the changes, growth, and progress that you see in the country over the year?
Yes, this is my second time here in Nepal. I was here between the years 2011 until 2014, and it gives some perspective. I see a lot of changes. I know that for people here in Nepal that you see the day-to-day process, you don't see these changes, but there are dramatic events that happen here. And again, all the information, all the changes are well known. But let me remind you that in 2015 you managed to vote on a constitution, to achieve a constitution. I remember the period before earlier that there were rounds and talks, and nothing progressed, and now you have a constitution. Now, a constitution is not a paper. It is not only a paper. It is a symbol of progress. It is a symbol of stability. It is a symbol of democracy. And I think that during the 15 years, even before the constitution, you had some changes, democratic changes in government. Now, again, people say, oh, we have too many changes. Maybe. But these are changes that are done through ballots and through the parliament. And this is something that people have to appreciate. Nepal is in the better half of the world that enjoys democracy. Don't neglect it. Electricity. We are sitting here having an interview and we have electricity. You know, there are so many changes in the country. Life expectancy. People are not aware, but during the last 10 years, Nepal progressed from 67 to 71 years of life expectancy. It's a dramatic change. And you know what? You are in the middle of the process. Because if we will check in 5 years, life expectancy is going to increase 2 years more. So the changes are in the middle. Education, children enrollment in primary school is 98 or 99%. Now, a person that can read and write is a different person from his grandfather that was illiterate. So these are all accumulative changes in the society that show that the country is changing. Nepal is in the middle of the progress. It is not easy to distinguish always all the events, all the changes, but there is certainly a change.
During your last tenure, you launched a postal stamp simultaneously in Nepal and Israel, with the highest point on earth, that is the Mount Everest, and the lowest, that is the Dead Sea. This is historic now. So you're a diplomat who is known to bring new and innovative ideas in the field of public diplomacy. What is a new idea that you're currently working on?
We are working on some things, but let me elaborate on the issue of the highest and the lowest. Yes, we are friends, but we are the two extremes. Nepal has the Everest, which is definitely highest, and we have the Dead Sea, which is definitely the lowest, and we decided to connect these two together. At the moment, we plan to do some things together with nature. We'll go with it. It's still under thinking, and if not, it will be something that will involve a combination of the two words Namaste and Shalom. Namaste in Hebrew means Shalom, and I really wish that we can bridge together, combine together the two words Shalom and Namaste to create something together, and we are working on it.
Israel does very well with recycle wastewater technology. Reusing wastewater and desaltifying water is how Israel meets its need for water. Due to the global warming, water shortage seems to be an evident global problem. Cities like Kathmandu are already facing a problem of water shortage. Do you see this area as an area for future cooperation?
Definitely. The issue of pollution, of water pollution, of wastage in Israel had a top priority. The reason is clear. Israel is a desert. Half of the country is harsh desert, and the other half is a moderate desert. But definitely we have shortage of water. Without water, there is no life. Now, the challenges in Nepal is not because of the lack or shortage of rainfall, but because of the pollution. How should I say? Modern society is creating more and more waste. This is the nature of modernity. Industry, households, when you wash the car, when you wash the clothes, when you produce something, chemicals are spread. We must take care of our rivers. In Israel, we have only one, and believe me, when Nepalis are looking at our river, they are smiling because it looks like a no-name little cola somewhere that nobody recognizes. But even in Nepal, pollution has no boundaries and no limits. And what happened to some of the rivers here is terrible. And I know that pollution can be cleared and can be solved. Now it's a process. We have the machines, we have the instruments. You need an investment, but then you get fresh water. I know my friends tell me that they used to swim in the Bagmati. They used to swim in the Bagmati. Some of the people, you know, they were having paddy fields here in Kathmandu Valley, and in the lunch break, they used to go and to wash their hands in the water. I'm not sure it is recommended this time to do it, but it is a reversible process, and I know that things can happen here in Nepal as well. In Israel, the shortage is so much that we even desalinate water from the ocean, from the Mediterranean, and we change them into drinkable water. It's an amazing process, and by the way, this system is now exported to all over the Middle East. And I think that some parts of Nepal needs a better treatment of pollution and to give a solution to the rivers. You have lovely, lovely rivers, lovely clean rivers, and the ones that are polluted should be treated.
When talking about a few issues in the world, overpopulation is also a common one. So due to the increasing population, the size of agricultural land is decreasing day by day. As Israel is making deserts bloom, and it's turning deserts into an agricultural dreamland. Do you see Israeli technology as the future to solve the problem of world food shortage?
Israel can be part of the solution. The world has a challenge, and the challenge is to feed. It was 6 billion people, and now it is 7 billion people, and at the same time to make a progress. So the challenge that Israel is participating is a double challenge. The first challenge is how to reduce the number of farmers, to reduce the percentage of farmers, because you need other professions, and at the same time, to increase the productivity. So this challenge is not only one-sided, it's a double challenge to reduce the percentage and to increase productivity. Israel has done a lot in it, and the statistics are amazing. In Israel at the moment we have 2% farmers, and the 2% give food, produce enough food for the 98%, and we are exporting food. So this is a problem in the world, and I think this is also an issue here in Nepal, and we are working together with Nepal to make the change.
In Israel, only 2% of the population are farmers, while in Nepal, 66% of the people are engaged in agriculture, and Nepal is still a food import country. What do you think Nepal is missing out on, despite having all the resources, the proper climate, the fertile soil? What do you think can be done to cash out the benefits?
Agriculture is not a hobby. Agriculture is a business. It is a profession, and it is a way of life. And what does it mean? It means that if a person is doing the agriculture in the same way like his grandfather did 60 years ago, there is no future. You have to invest. You have to put modern technologies. You have to make it a full-time occupation. To understand that is the beginning of making the change. And the important thing is also to understand the mindset of the farmer. Farmers are very solid people. There are people with 2 legs on the ground. They want, agriculture is not casino. When people go to the casino, they say, I will put 1 rupee and I will collect 1 lakh. And maybe I lose everything. No. The farmers don't want to collect this amount. They want to put 1 rupee and they want to collect 5. That is enough. If they put 1,000 rupees, they will collect 5,000 rupees. But they have to invest. And this is the second challenge of Nepal. How to make these investments in order to increase the productivity.
I would like to quote you right here when you mentioned that agriculture is not a hobby, it's a profession, it's a business, it's a way of life. When we talk about Nepal, in Nepal, a lot of people are farmers by default and some are farmers by choice. How do you encourage these farmers to understand that agriculture is actually a sector with high rate of returns, which will in turn inspire them to invest in it?
In Israel, when a farmer has 10 cows and the 10 cows are pregnant, the farmer will have 10 baby cows, 10 calves. And the question that people ask me, okay, then you will have 5 female and 5 male. This is statistics. Sometimes it will be 4 and 6 or 6 and 4. Rarely it can also be 7-3 or 3 and 7. No, this is not the case in Israel. If you have 10 pregnant cows, you will have 10 female babies. How we do it? It's not a miracle, it's technology. And this is how you encourage the farmers here. Now people look at me with their eyes and ask, you are talking about Israel, you have the technology investments. I'm not talking about Israel. It happens, it exists here in Nepal. The farmers that went to Israel and the technology and the things that the farmers bring, not only from Israel, also from other countries, but they understand the concept. They have to make the change. And I know a farmer here in Kathmandu Valley that has 100 cows. And these 100 cows gave 100 babies. And the 100 baby cows, 100 calves, 98 were female. Here. Okay? Now think of the ideas, think of the encouragement for the entire sector of milk production all over the country. Farmers can be joyful, just have to expose them, just have to share this information, and just have to increase the productivity. The drip irrigation. Israel is very famous about drip irrigation, but people look at me and they say, you are Israelis, you come from a country of shortage of water, of desert, of, very difficult climate there you have in the Middle East. Here in Nepal, it's raining, we have enough rain. I will teach you a new word in English. And the new word is a combination of irrigation and fertilizer. Irrigation and fertilizer together is called fertigation. The farmer, when he gives the water in the pipe with the drips, he's also adding the fertilizer. So at the same time, he's giving water and he's giving the fertilizer, and he increased the productivity 5 times more. How does it happen in Nepal? In Nepal, the farmer, like this. It's a waste. It costs terribly, and it doesn't get to the plant. So the idea is how to bring this product here to Nepal. You don't have to do it anymore. Some of the farmers that went to Israel produce the drip irrigation here in Nepal. It is made in Nepal. So things are moving, and I know they are producing drip irrigations thousands of meters every month, and they lay it and they increase the productivity. So again, it's a process. It's a long process, but I think that farmers that are the most smart people, they know what is good, they see their neighbor, and they copy-paste and they improve the productivity. I believe that if Nepal will continue this trend of making the agriculture to become modern agriculture, it will be self-sufficient. I believe that in 10 years, Nepal can change and become exporter of food.
We just talked about the Learn and Earn program, where Nepalese farmers, they go to Israel, they have an opportunity to work, learn, they come back to Nepal, and they get to work in the field of agriculture even more better and even more effectively than they were doing it before. Another program that is very well received by the Nepalese is the one regarding the caregivers. Can you tell us something more about that?
In the last 10 years, more than 3,000 Nepalis went to Israel, and they spent 1 year in this project. This project involves working on the job, work for 5 days a week, and 1 day per week theoretical studies in the college. They have to submit, to present a research that they make during the year with an academical professor that is supporting them, and that they have an exam on it at the end of the year. So it's a very serious program, and these students come with 2 important things. One is they come back with money because they're working. And the second thing, which is even more important, is the knowledge. Money can disappear, can go, can be invested or whatever, but the knowledge that they gain is amazing, and we see them all over. I visit the East, and I visit the West, and I visit Terai, and I meet these graduates all over the country. And they are doing well with the vegetables, with the greenhouses, with the cows, with the goats, with the fish, with the bananas. Everywhere you go, you will see these graduates. Let me refer to the second issue that you raised, which is the auxiliary workers in the caregiving sector. In other countries, there is difference between rights of locals and foreign workers. In the state of Israel, the rights of the Israelis and the rights of the Nepali workers are the same. Same minimum wage, same number of vacation days per year, same medical treatment, same health insurance, same conditions. And this is the reason why Nepali workers that go to Israel, the minimum salary is 2 lakh. The minimum salary is 2 lakh. This is not a mistake. This is what they earn, and of course from there is progress and extra hours and other additions. So normally what happens is that a Nepali that goes to Israel for a period of 5 years is saving a nice amount of money. This is a win-win situation for both. Because what happened with these 1,000 Nepalis that are going these days to Israel, it is a change, a dramatic change for 1,000 Israeli families and 1,000 Nepali families. I'm sure that we can continue even to enlarge it, to expand it.
When we talk about relations, there are always 2 legs to it. One being the bilateral and the next one being the multilateral. We know that the bilateral relations between Nepal and Israel have been thriving over the years. Can you tell us something about the multilateral aspect of it?
The bilateral aspect is very easy and very much seen, because bilateral includes movement of people, visits, tourism, caregivers, scholarships, Shalom Club. All these elements are things that you see. When cargo planes from Israel land here after the earthquake, you see them. When cargo planes bring equipment to prevent COVID, you see them. When you talk about multilateral, things are a little bit more complicated. Multilateral is what is happening in international organizations. And when you say international organizations, you mainly talk about United Nations or United Nations agencies and what is happening in New York. Now, New York is a remote place. There are some votes going on. Nobody is covering it. It is not that interesting. United Nations is not always friendly, and in most cases it is even hostile towards Israel. And Nepal is not neutral on the votes on the Middle East. Nepal, in most cases, 19 out of 20 votes is voting against Israel. We would be very, very happy if there will be a change in favor of Israel in these votes, and I really hope the change will happen. There was one change in the last 5 years, one of the votes, and Nepal is neutral there. We will be very, very happy if there will be a bigger change towards Israel, in favor of Israel in that aspect.
Thank you for being with us today. It was an honor having you here in the show.
Thank you very much.
We will be back next week with a new episode. Until then, hope you have a great week ahead. Namaste.